Good evening. Welcome to the Healing River Worship Center Roundtable discussion. And oh man, I've been looking forward to this because we have two men who have served in the military. And it's an honor to be here with you guys. So we have David Snider, who helps with, or you may do more than just help with the honor. Yeah, you're the big dog for the for the honor flights of the Ozarks, right?
Just one of the fish in the puddle right now.
And then we have Ed Hirsch over here, who has served and got to go on one of the honor flights. And I wanted to have him explain or talk about this experience. So let's go ahead and open up with prayer. And then we'll do a Bible verse. We'll get on with it. Father, I am so grateful for what you have done with this country. I thank you for the United States. I thank you that you formed this nation. And I thank you for all the brave men and women that have served. They have given their lives. They've just given of themselves. And I'm so grateful, Lord, that we have this opportunity this evening to listen to some stories and to maybe have a greater appreciation for what those who have gone before us have done. Lord, I ask that in all of this tonight, that you would be glorified, but you would also help us to understand the sacrifice that veterans actually have made. And I ask also, Lord, that you would protect our service members right now. I just ask, Lord, that you would give them backup angels to help them in every conflict that's going on. And I ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen. So I was going to go to this one scripture, and then on the way out to the car, I thought, oh, no, I got a better one. So, and it's this one, Romans 13:7. It says, render to all men their dues, pay taxes to whom taxes are due, revenue to whom revenue is due, respect to whom respect is due, and honor to whom honor is due. And that's what I felt like this is about, just showing that honor, and honor to you guys, but also to all of our other veterans. So I want to know, because I don't know a whole lot about the honor flights, and just wonder, how did this start?
It started with a vision, and I actually brought a piece of the speech that I actually use that integrates how Honor Flight actually got started.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just going to tell you word for word.
Okay.
Okay, because I think you'll find it interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Since 2005, the Honor Flight Network, has flown over 317,128 veterans to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Now that's with 128 active hubs nationwide. And that includes the one we have in Springfield. But it was started with two men. Two men actually started this. One man's name was Jeff Miller, who was a small business owner, and he was a son of a World War II veteran. And then you have Mr. Earl Morse. He was actually a physician's assistant, and he was also an Air Force captain. But what they did, they had a vision. They used 6 small airplanes to take 12 World War II heroes to see their memorial in May of 2005. That's how it got started, with a vision for these men to take their heroes to see the World War II memorial when it actually opened. What you see now is a result of that birth, because with everything that we do now, so you figure you start with 12, we're over. Matter of fact, since last week when we flew to Washington, D.C., we are at 326,000 veterans nationwide that have been flown from our network.
Wow. From the spring?
Not Springfield.
Not Springfield. Oh, okay.
Now, since Springfield, that's since 2014, and I'll give you some numbers that go with that.
Okay.
We have flown over 2,000. We're right at around the 2,300 mark now since 2014. And that is at the end of our last flight, which was last week on October 29th.
Okay. I remember seeing in the news, it was that first one, I believe, they had it on KY3.
That's
And-
it. KY3, it was actually Ozark's honor flight at the time. So they flew a few missions, and then they just changed their branding a little bit, and it was taken over by some new leadership. So that's how you come with honor flight of the Ozarks right now. Now, if you take that into perspective, a vision with two men, they had to have another vision from somewhere, I'm just saying.
Yes.
Okay, but they did what their hearts told them to do, to honor our nation's veterans, and that's what we do, and that's what I did with Ed last week. Ed's a hero to me. Okay, everyone that gets on board that aircraft is a hero. I served 4 years active duty, but the men and women that served before me, I do not hold a candle to them, and that's just the way I feel.
Wow. So were you in combat or in?
I was never in combat. However, there's a story that goes along with my enlistment. I entered in 1986, and my enlistment ended in 1990. Right before I was due to get off active duty, that was in July of 90, that is when the Iraqi war started. Operation Desert Storm with Saddam Hussein. I watched that. I ETS'd, which my end of term of service is what ETS stands for. I watched that. We actually lived in Louisiana, my wife and me, and I'll tell you about her in a minute. She's a dandy, okay? But we lived in Louisiana. We opted to move up here the first time in 1990. I watched it. I didn't pay attention to it until the air assault started in January of that year. Excuse me, January of 91. And then I started watching a little more, and I knew things were going to turn sideways on me. I tried to actually contact my unit, which was Charlie Company in the 588th Engineer Battalion down in Fort Polk, Louisiana. I was actually going to go sign back into that unit because we knew that we were going to get letters in the mail, and I was one of the first few thousand folks that received one of those letters. I still have it to this day. It's a Western Union mailgram, and in that letter, it specifically said, Sergeant David Troy Snider, you are hereby ordered back to active duty according to the executive order of the President of the United States. So I was going regardless. Kay, when we lived up here, she actually met me outside my mom's back door because we lived literally 2 blocks away, and she come out and she was holding an envelope and she was waving it and she was crying, and she knew what it was. So that's where I got involved with it again. I was called back to active duty for Desert Storm. I was back up at Fort Leonard Wood. I spent almost 90 days in that arena up there. We had orders cut to go straight to Saudi Arabia, to go into Iraq, because I had a specialty unit with me. I was an engineer. I was a combat engineer, which simply means we built it, we blew it up, and we made it safe for everybody else, to include the Marine Corps. We made it safe for those guys too. And I say that jokingly, but the ceasefire was called because of the number of casualties that the Iraqis were suffering. So once the ceasefire was called, I was immobilized, and demobilized, I should say, and taken off active duty. So yes and no. I was called back to serve my country. I would have gone hands down. It hurt. I can tell you now. It hurt here and it hurt here because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I had some friends that did deploy over there that lost their lives. Okay, that is the nature of that particular war beast. You deal with it. You cope with it, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
Tell you how we deal with stuff like that.
Okay.
But that is my involvement as a United States veteran. I served proudly with 588th. It was an engineer company, engineer battalion. So we led the way, and I had a good time. The best time of my life, okay, were those first 4 years in Uncle Sam's Army, and I had a ball. I would not be the man I am today had it not been for my time in the United States military.
Wow. Wow. One of the things that always hits me is that when people who have been in the military, most generally, they have a love for the nation. a love for this country. And every now and then you get one that's out there that something has to be off with them. That's all I can figure. But my husband was 4 years in the Air Force, and I mean he's a patriot, and that's that.
Well, patriotism is something that runs deep in any person that takes the oath. And
Right.
to this day, I can tell you where I was when I took that oath. I was in a room with probably 25 more young men just like me. I remember taking that oath. And every time that I recite that oath again, it reaffirms who I am, and why I do what I do. And I'll tell you, it's here.
Yeah.
Every single time. Every time these guys and girls get on the aircraft with me, before we leave out in the morning, I ask them to stand and reaffirm that oath with me.
Oh, wow.
And you've never seen anything till you see a group of our seniors, and I use that respectfully, stand up. Some of them, some of the veterans that are wheelchair bound, they will stand up
Oh, my.
and they will take their oath.
Wow.
That just speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, it does. So can you tell us where you served?
Well, I started out when I went into the service in the Army, and I thought for sure that I'd be infantry, heavy artillery, and all of a sudden they said, no, you're going to be a medic. That was not even in my mind that I was going to be a medic. I mean, that was the farthest of being with that. And but then on the other hand, I could go further. Is that was the best thing that ever happened to me, is to be a medic, and to give you, and that was in 1966, and
Okay, so Vietnam, right?
with Vietnam. I wasn't in Vietnam. I was with a hospital unit, 44th, medical, but I saw all the results.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I dealt with a lot of men, women, mostly men. Yeah, with regarding I mean, I've seen it all with their legs missing, arms missing. I mean, I could go on, but and it was something that I really had, and I wasn't a Christian, at the time, so I had to just buckle up, do what I'm told to do, and so, but what I can say, is that it was like I said, it was the best thing that ever happened, because when I did become, a believer, is that the Lord used me then when I was in a reserve unit then at that time, and it was a hospital unit, and when I with the experience that I had with that, then I was a banker, and and what I did do is that in our community, in small communities, throughout America at that time in the early 70s, didn't have ambulances. They had station wagons, and so forth. And it's like, and for me, is that's not good enough.
No.
And it started when my wife had some issues, woke up one night, and she had blood all over the bed. And so here the police car comes, put her in the back seat, go to the hospital, and it's like, wait a minute, I got to do something. This is crazy.
Wow.
And so I started a local emergency medical, but again, the government doesn't believe in and trust medics that were in the Army, in the Navy, and so forth. And so I had to go and get trained through all of that. But what I did do though, is I stayed in the military, and I ended up with 30 years, in the military.
Wow.
I went to Desert Storm, took 850 troops in Desert Storm, and at that time, I was in command position. I was no longer in the medical, side of it, and so, and also my rank, I got to the highest rank as an enlisted in the military, to a command sergeant major. So
Wow.
that's really short of it, but that's where I'm from.
So you were in Vietnam and in Desert Storm.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, well, what else do you?
What else do you want to know?
I don't know. Just give me something.
How about, I'll get to this character and this character in a minute because there's a reason for that, because that is a conclusion for me.
Okay.
However, I became involved with Honor Flight of the Ozarks in 2018 as a volunteer. And what I did is I went to my union with the Springfield Police Officers Association, and I asked them to sponsor me as a guardian.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got started with Honor Flight. So they paid my $500 fee to go as a guardian. And when I did, I requested a World War II hero, if I could get one.
Uh-huh.
I was blessed because not only did I get a World War II hero, he brought his 2 sons who served in Vietnam
Oh my.
as veterans as well.
Wow.
So we were with him. But I learned a lot with Mr. Forrest Turney was his name. Not Forrest Gump, Forrest Turney. Mr. Turney was 93 years of age. I learned a lot from him. So when I first met him, he didn't talk. He didn't talk much at all. And his 2 sons told me, he said, he's not going to talk that much. I said, all right, I'll change that for him. When we met up on flight morning, we had an American Airlines charter at the time. There was a thunderstorm that caused a 25-minute delay for the aircraft to come in. So as that plane was coming in, pulling up to the gate, you could see lightning in the background. So I knew it was going to be a good day.
Yeah.
All right. We got on board. We got him loaded up, got his sons loaded. We got to Washington, D.C., and I pushed him in a wheelchair, and Mr. Turney didn't say a word. But he said a couple of things throughout the day that I'm not going to repeat because they're not good. They were funny to me, funny to him, but not funny to y'all. Okay. But we got down on the motor coaches, and I rode up. There's a wheelchair access on the back of one of the large motor coaches. So I rode up with him on the lift, and I got him set down. And one of the first things he said, there's a set of train tracks that run parallel to Reagan Airport that we go into. Mm-hmm. And he didn't miss a lick. And I use the term old people sunglasses because he had the big ones on. And he sat, he looked out the window, and he looked straight ahead again. And he said a few choice words that were funny but not funny. And he says, the Japs had a train just like that. This is what he told me. And he started talking from that point forward. He was going back to his time in World War II. Come to find out, Mr. Turney, there was a lot more to him than I realized. He served as an MP. He was in the Pacific Theater when they dropped both atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He was also aboard the USS Missouri when the Emperor of Japan signed the peace treaty with General MacArthur. He was actually looking over one of the bows when this occurred. He shared that with me. He shared a few more things, but a couple of things that really stood out during that day. We went over to the Vietnam Wall. We got off and we're wheeling around, and he says, "Would you take me over there?" I said, "Yes, sir, I would." So we took him over there, and if you've never been to the wall, it's a very hallowed piece of ground.
Yeah.
As soon as you start walking down the path, you see a piece of granite. And the granite starts at about 10 inches. And there's a name. That's the first casualty of Vietnam. Well, as you go, the names start to grow on each panel. There are over 58,000 names on the piece of granite. all the way around. But as we drove down the sidewalk here, he looked over and he looked up and he says, that sure is a lot of names. That's all he said. That sure is a lot of names. Well, his two sons were over there. They met up with us and we were looking. Well, we get over into Arlington National Cemetery and we're riding. Well, as we come in, again, he looks out of the glass and he looks in again. And we passed a piece of ground where there were still cross markers on a hill where some of the nurses were buried. And he says, sure is a lot of crosses. That's all he said.
Yeah.
It sure is a lot of crosses. We got down off the motor coach and we're going around. And at Arlington, when you go with us, we give you a first class seat. Not too many people get to drive their bus up to the amphitheater. Well, we drove 4 of them up to front. Well, when you get around there, there are special locations. Ed experienced that I put you behind a special set of chains. And you're able to see the changing of the guard with these sentinels from the 3rd Regiment. So when you get there, I try to tell Mr. Turney, Mr. Turney, you got to be quiet when we're up here now. Why? I said, Mr. Turney, I'm telling you, you got to be quiet for a little bit. Well, I got to go see Kennedy. That's all he said. I got to go see Kennedy's grave. So I had to tell him we couldn't go see Kennedy at the time. Mm-hmm. But the sentinel that was walking the mat at that time, he was coming toward us. And you don't know if the sentinel's looking at you or not, but you can feel him looking at you.
Yeah.
He was watching us. He didn't say a word because he knew. He knew who I was with. He knew about the man I was with, never even met him. And he looked at all the veterans around. He knew there was going to be noise. He knew that it was going to be unexpected noise. He didn't say anything. He just knew. And those are things that stuck out. But the one thing that really got me is when we come home on the airplane, after we get off, I see him to his car. His 2 sons met me, and they walked out with me. And they walked up to me. They shook my hand. They gave me a hug, both of them. And I gave Mr. Turney a hug. They looked at me and they said, our Pops likes you. He doesn't talk to anybody. I kept up with him. Well,
wow.
Right around Christmas, I sent him a care package. He was in an assisted living home up in Kansas City with one of his other son, and his son that lived here in Nixa. I talked to him. Well, I sent him a care package, and this care package consisted of peppermints. It consisted of a photo album that I made of him, both of us, while we were there, and it also consisted of a camouflage blanket. Christmas Day, I get a call from that man. He tells me, Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Tells me. What I learned from him with the photo album that I had made for him, he would go around the assisted home, and he would carry that photo album with him, and he would show everybody, this is who I was with. This is who I was with. When his sons called me and told me they had passed away, they took a photo of both of us, and they put it on display.
Wow.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah. You.
Made a difference.
Yeah, and just for him to talk just a little bit about that, and wow, for him to be honored, and you got to be a part of that. That's just so amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It'll get you.
Yeah.
And, we talk a lot. And Ed, I'll turn the table over to him. But when we go on these flights, you develop a relationship. Mm-hmm. It's an unseen relationship with everyone. I know every face on that aircraft. I know the volunteers. I know the veterans. I know my staff. I know every face. Every face has a story. Every voice has a different tale to tell. And it'll get you. But you learn. And to be part of living history, that's what gets you. Living. Not a history book.
Right.
I'm talking the people that were there that will tell you what's in between the pages of that history book. Mm-hmm. That's where you learn about the United States veteran, right there.
Wow. Mm. So,
I totally agree, with what David was talking about, because especially in the World War II era, my dad and his 4 brothers were all in World War II, and one thing is that my dad would never talk about what took place. Now, we did find out, I mean, years later, he even had pictures of Mussolini hanging upside down because he was there. He
Wow.
took pictures of them. Yeah. And when I went into the service, I felt that one thing I have to do is share, talk, not keep it within me. And even again, like at that time, I wasn't a believer.
Yeah.
But I knew that we had to, I would talk to other soldiers. We got to talk this through, especially when you see, the devastation of people's lives.
Right.
And so and so we had to talk about it. And I did that same thing later on, even on the crew with the EMS, because they saw things that they would have never thought they'd see. And I had to hold their hands. I had to talk to them. And those who I took over in Desert Storm,
Right.
it was a short war, but there's a lot of them that saw, things that they never thought they would see. And so, again, let's talk.
Yeah.
It's so important, it sets you free.
Well, I can see that, because if you just keep trying to stuff it down and you don't want to talk about it, then it'll come out in other ways, won't it?
Yeah. The one thing I want to say, I really appreciate David. He's the one that actually pushed me to get onto honor flight, and it was I put it off and put it off and put it off. Yeah, and boy, I can tell you, it was the best thing that ever could happen. Yeah, is that in fact, I'll probably show some emotions, but
Yeah.
the thing is that when I called my son to see if he'd be the guardian, and of course he jumped on that. I mean, in seconds. Yes, I want to. I want to go, and of course he came with me. Yeah, and we had the best of time. I mean, it was just so wonderful. But I want to go back to the beginning of this, when I witnessed with David, and his leadership. He is a leader.
Yeah.
He has a sense of humor, but he also has a, like, this is what's going to be taking place. And I appreciate that. I like that. And everybody, I mean, there was never one person that would be complaining about what David was doing. The other thing, too, is that before we left, he made sure that we had prayer for 190 people. When we came back to the back, and we landed in Springfield, we had prayer. We're thanking the Lord for all what we experienced when we were in Washington, D.C. That, I'll tell you, means a lot.
Yes.
And so, and of course, I wrote down here with what took place.
Yeah. Tell me what you guys did.
Well, the first thing that we did is went to a memorial site of Franklin Roosevelt. Okay. And of course there's that wall. I mean, it's many walls for Franklin Roosevelt, and read all the words that were on the wall. and some of the history of what he what he did, along with his wife. His wife was very powerful.
Yeah.
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 And so, and of course the dog was, that was really important.
The dog.
The dog. Yeah, and then the other, person that we, was there was Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I didn't even forget all about that, that he had a memorial. Yeah, and he had a lot of sayings on the wall. So we covered that. The next step that we took is that we went to the tomb of the unknown soldier, and to witness the changing of the guard. And you talk about like being quiet. You would not hear a pin drop, when you're there. And these soldiers who are doing this are doing 24/7, 365 days a year.
Wow.
And two, with that, I mean, you talk about dedication, is that, I mean, they are top-notch soldiers. If they make even one false move, they're out of it. They relieve them.
Wow.
I mean, they're so dedicated to what they're doing. Yeah. And I mean, it was, and you have to witness it to see how, I mean, they do this 24/7. It blows your mind.
Well, yeah, that's rain and
Rain, sleet,
Sleet,
snow,
snow.
whatever. I mean, and they look at it as a privilege beyond measure that they could do this.
Well, just to reflect on that piece right there, we, as Honor Flight, we're given special privileges. Once you come up to the gate of Arlington National Cemetery, even though it says National Cemetery, it is a military installation. It reverts back to military installation at 1700 hours or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But when you go up to the gate, if you are there 10 minutes prior, shame on you, you're going to get turned away. You have to be there at the top of the hour to gain access. So they saw us, and I recognize a lot of the civilian folks that are there. They recognize me, and they have to coordinate those efforts through the bus drivers that we have. But once you go into Arlington, we go to the very top, and then we unload, and we go around and do our thing to get off. But one thing Ed's not telling you about is something he may not have realized occurred the whole time he's there. When all the veterans are lined up behind these chains, and I went and found Ed too. I made him get off the steps, made him go stand somewhere. I try to get all the veterans in blue to come and stand behind a special set of viewing chains. So I went and found Ed and made him go away, made him go down and get where they got to go. Well,
I obeyed.
he obeyed. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Bad things
sir.
going to happen.
yeah.
So when the sergeant of the guard comes out, okay, there's a special place in the barracks. The sentinels live there at Arlington. They live under the amphitheater. Okay, I've had the privilege of being invited into the barracks a couple of times already.
Wow.
And it's fascinating. I felt very honored and very privileged. But at the top of the hour, you hear the bells chime. Not just a bell, it's a gong. And I believe you heard it as well. You hear a door slam open. Bam. That's all you hear. The sergeant will come up, and he will come to the top of the stairs. As he comes to the top of the stairs, that's where I usually stand. He didn't realize it, but if that guard or that sergeant of the guard recognizes you as a military service member or a veteran, he will scrape his heel. People don't realize that.
Wow.
So I'm there. I actually had Miss Maria Snider with me. She was there.
I remember her.
I gave her. She was with us on the aircraft. So she was there with me, and I took her to where she could see the sergeant of the guard and the new sentinel come out. Well, when he got there, he acknowledged my presence with the scrape. And when he got over to Ed and those guys, as soon as he passed through the chains, there are 3 distinct scrapes. And what he's doing, he's recognizing you. He's giving you the respect,
Wow.
knowing that you are who you are. I don't know if you caught that or
No,
not,
I didn't.
Wow.
but it's there.
Yeah.
We have video of it.
Yeah.
I'll share it with you.
Wow.
But that's one thing that the
Yeah.
sergeant of the guard and the sentinels, they do not waver. There was a time back in May, on our May flight, it rained. It rained the entire time. If you want to feel the presence of God, you stand there at that rain, and you stand there with these veterans that are just soaking wet, but they have ponchos on, and all you hear are the footsteps of the sentinel, and you hear the rain. That's
Wow.
when God is with you,
Yeah.
because you
Wow.
hear nothing but the rain, and you feel the power of that rain. And those vets do not waver. Those sentinels do not waver.
They don't.
They do not. And every veteran that was there, they wanted to be there. They didn't have to be there.
Yeah.
They wanted to be there in that rain. That's how important it was at Arlington. But I didn't want to steal his thunder, but I had to share that with you. Go
No,
ahead.
I-
That's amazing.
I'm glad to hear that myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go ahead.
Yeah. So what else did you
Well,
do?
the next thing that we went to is Abraham Lincoln's Memorial.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and of course there's a lot of steps to climb up, to see Lincoln himself.
Uh-huh.
But it was good. It's also the time that we took pictures. And David had to corral everybody.
Like herd a bunch of feral cats.
Yeah.
And the thing is that the reason why I'm wearing this blue shirt, this is for this people that served.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Guardians wore red.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a distinction. And of course, with David, he had to corral all 190 of them together. And you should have heard him. I mean, everybody could hear him.
Yes.
He should have been a drill sergeant, is what. But yeah, and that's we took pictures there and just and walked around, various sites, at that time, and the Vietnam Wall and the Korean Wall are pretty close to each other.
Okay.
And that's the next step that we went to, is to see that. And with the Vietnam Wall, it's very touching
Yeah.
because there's a number of soldiers I knew were there. And the thing is, there's a number of them who I didn't know when I took care of them when they passed away. They're on that wall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it's real touchy.
Yeah.
It's almost like for any soldier that I hear when they go to that wall, they all have that same feeling in their heart. I don't care how hard their heart is, when they hit that wall, it penetrates them.
Yeah.
And it's like, we made it home, they didn't.
Yeah.
And so, and then with the Korean War, it's the same thing on the wall.
I can even remember when I was in school, they would, there would be some talk about Vietnam and stuff. It's like they didn't even pay attention to the Korean War. And we have people that gave their lives in that too, and
Well, it's called the Forgotten War.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's called the Forgotten War for a reason, because it was forgotten. But you know what? When we take these troops back over to see that, and they start looking, they start reflecting on what occurred there. They fought a very hard war, very hard, very bitter cold, wet, and part of that memorial is there. If you're not familiar with it, there's a platoon of ghost soldiers there. Ed
That's
saw
right.
them. It's designed in such a way to where when you walk up to that particular memorial, it's supposed to mimic a rice paddy, and it's supposed to mimic a platoon that's actually on patrol. Wherever you go, there's a set of eyes watching you. And I don't care how hard you try to hide from it. You can try to sneak around it. You can try to come from out. There's always one of those ghost soldiers walking. It's every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Their eyes are hollow for a reason, because their eyes are on you. But wherever you go, they're looking at you. Whether you're behind them, there's one back here looking at you. There's one with a weapon slung up here. There's one talking on the radio. Every single avenue that you can think about, they're always watching you. And if you look at the granite on the wall that Ed's talking about, there are faces etched in the wall. And wherever you move, those faces follow you. And it's not just the granite. That's the spirit of those that were lost. That's exactly what that is. And I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
But I have to go back to on the Arlington, being at Arlington Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked how big it is, how much land it is on. There's 403,000 buried there.
Wow.
403,000. Now, that not everybody can be buried there. I
Right.
mean, there's strict regulations on who can be buried
So
at
what
Arlington.
are the regulations for that? Do you know?
You have to be retired, active
Okay.
duty. There's only, did you know there's 2 presidents buried there?
No.
There's only 2.
Which
Contrary to popular belief, President Kennedy, and I believe it's Taft.
Right.
It is Taft that are actually buried there. But there are stipulations. Again, you have to be retired. You're the only one that can be buried there. Now, there was a time when a spouse could be buried on top of their hut, their other, in the same plot right there. But Arlington has grown so much. They now encompass part of what used to be the backside of the Air Force Memorial. So that's a piece we did not get to see while we were over there. But they're adding and adding. There are an average of 20 funerals every day
Wow.
inside Arlington National Cemetery.
Yeah.
my goodness.
It's amazing. It's hard to believe.
You know, I went to a funeral for a Vietnam vet up in Springfield.
Mhm.
You know, well, I guess it's just off Evans Road.
Yes.
That area. And I was so moved by that because the man, he had a lot of a lot of the guys that came back from Vietnam, they had a lot of issues. And
Really?
yeah. But, well, the ones that didn't find Jesus,
Yeah.
they're. But anyway, I remember going to this and it's a cold day and they're just doing the service there. They weren't in a church or anything like that. But he had a buddy who was a former pastor, but the former pastor showed up late and drunk. And I thought, this is horrible. This is no way to treat a veteran. But whenever the guys came, I don't even know what we call them, but the guys with the guns,
It's the honor guard.
the honor guard, yeah. The honor guard came and they showed such honor to this man. And I thought, wow, it's like they redeemed the whole thing, like just, you don't show up late to a military thing, and especially for a veteran. But it's like they brought it all around, and then when they presented the flag to his wife, it was like, wow, I'm so glad that they did that.
Well, it's ironic that you say that. When we pulled up to the amphitheater this time, Ed and his crew had a very unique experience. Very rare will you find an active burial service near the amphitheater.
Mm-hmm.
We happened to drive up as it was occurring. So the 21 gun volley had already taken place, but as we're pulling up, I did not let anyone get off the motor coaches. It was strictly out of respect. Ed remembers that.
Mm-hmm.
But as we're standing there, I know people are looking out there. There was a presentation of the flag to the widow. So they saw something, and
Yeah.
there was not a dry eye, and
Yeah.
even at a distance. But there was a band out there who helped play. There was the firing team. There was the burial team. It was all there. This is a very lucky crew to be able to come right up on that as honors were being given to a soldier. That was something that was not planned.
Right.
It just happened to fall in line with that. When you go into Arlington, there are certain things that are definitely a no-no. You do not take pictures of an active service.
Right.
And we tell them, turn your phones off, especially when you're going up the tomb, or bad things are going to happen to you. That sentinel's going to find you, and bad things are going to happen to you. But there's so many things with Arlington. When you step on that particular piece of ground, you can feel the souls of every soldier buried there, every single one of them. But again, I don't want to steal Ed's thunder. I think he has a couple more things to talk about. But
Yeah.
your service reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much what we were doing during the day. And of course, we had to be, over there before we got on the bus or on the plane, at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like David was really, he's an early bird, so we all had to be at 1:30 to 2:30, and but again, and he had roll call, and every person was there,
Yeah.
not one was missing, and then when, of course, when we got on the plane, it was raining like cats and dogs here, but I'll tell you, I was praying like when we get to Washington D.C. that it won't be raining, and I'll tell you, it was the most beautiful
Day.
The sun came out. It was like in the 50s for all of us, and it couldn't have been a better day. But
Right.
when we came home, I mean, everything's right to the. I mean, we got a guy. We have a guy who's right there. Every step of the way is right on time. You didn't have to worry about like, okay, we're about 2 hours behind, or But David, again, I appreciate his leadership. But we got home, to the airport at 7:45. Actually, we were 15 minutes early. That he screwed up on that.
No, because I had a talk with the pilots before we left.
But I'll tell you, when we got into the airport, and it took a while to get all the wheelchair, people off, and then we finally all of us got out. And then, of course, David said, all the wheelchair men would be in front, and we would be in the back. We had people who were, I don't know who they were, but they gave,
Roses, and
roses,
blankets.
blankets.
I don't know where that came from.
It came and gave each one of us a blanket.
Wow.
And then there was some politicians there, that I like. I mean,
Good.
Yeah. I told them, all of them, I was praying for them anyway.
Yes.
So, but we were there for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, I heard some bagpipes. It's like, from a distance, like, wow, what's going on? And and then all of a sudden, that's when we had prayer to thank the Lord for all what took place.
Yes.
And then when we started going, and when we went around the corner, it was, the best thing that ever happened to us. It was all these people. There was hundreds of people there. The bands were playing. It just overwhelming. The reception that we got. Yes. Shaking hands. And in fact, I saw some ladies who were in white dresses and so forth. They were nurses.
Nightingales.
The nightingales.
They were the nightingales.
I didn't know
Wow.
like the nightingale. And I went up and I shook each one his hand and I said, "I'm one of you. I'm one of you," because I was a medic.
Yeah.
and I shook hands with a lot of different people. It was just, it was so words can't express how gratitude that that took place there. And I know every soldier that went through there had that feeling. I can't believe that there would be one that would not.
I was talking to a lady one time, and her husband had served in Vietnam, and he'd seen a lot of stuff. And whenever he came back, of course, most Vietnam veterans were not necessarily welcomed and
we were
Yes.
killers.
Yeah.
We were killers. And
Yeah.
in fact, I used to go and fight in the bars. I'd threaten.
Yeah.
I should before I was a Christian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
When
I'm
I
glad
was
you
in
did
the-
that before you were Christian.
Well, I go in and I just wanted to beat the tar out of somebody.
Yeah.
Just for, but they would never
Yeah.
try to.
So this lady was talking to us, and her husband had dealt with so much and had he was an alcoholic and just dealing with a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
And he came up here. They lived in Texas, and they came up here to visit. They came to Branson to visit. Of course, Branson makes a big deal out of veterans.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's,
Absolutely.
nobody does it like Branson.
That's right.
And he was at a restaurant, and he had a hat on, and it said Vietnam vet. And this little girl, she's about 5 or 6 years old, comes up and she says, "Thank you for your service." And he just broke down crying, and it was the most healing moment for him to just be appreciated for what he had done.
Well, we get quite a bit of that. We try to make these trips as memorable as we can, and we make everyone better than the last. What Ed said about the folks being at the airport, we know some folks that may help put a bug in people's ear to get them out there, but it's because they want to be there.
Right.
But a lot of people want to come out. They want to support who they are and who we are. But what Ed failed to tell you is what occurred on the aircraft before we landed.
Ooh, what was
He
that?
didn't tell you this part. After we leveled off, after we took off from Dulles, probably 25 minutes into the flight, we had leveled off, and I think a lot of them were sleeping. I couldn't have that. Okay, I couldn't have that. So
I wasn't sleeping.
they let us do a couple of things, but I go to the front of the aircraft and I take control. And you know what? Lights inside of an airplane are very bright at 38,000 feet. So I turned every light imaginable known to man on that airplane on the inside, and I woke him up. Mail call. Mail call.
right. That's right.
He forgot to tell you about that part of it.
That's
Tell me
right.
about the mail call.
And when you talk about the thanks, we have kids that write letters. We have churches that write letters. We have businesses that write letters. But I'll have to say the letters that get the veterans the most, and me, is when you have a colored picture from a first grader that says, "Thank you, veteran. We love you." That is probably the most important one. But when they think they're done, and They put that one away. The next one they pull out's from our kindergartner, and that one's just that much worse. Like they put it away. But the recognition that we try to give our veterans, when they come home, is what we do. We try to make it the best thing. And it goes back to these two items.
Yeah.
Before we depart, as they come up off the ramp, and I use the term they because it's a collective they, we have everyone come on. Our guardians, and Damon back there, he may have one of these things too. This is called a challenge coin. This is a ceramic. It looks like a poker chip, but it's not. But this specifically says, Honor Flight of the Ozarks, Springfield, Missouri. On the other side, one more mission with honor, Washington, D.C. On the rolling edge, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. My guardians get one of those. I'll put that here. My veterans get this guy right here. And this is a spitting image of that. This is the metal version because our veterans are made of steel. Okay, of iron. And they bear the colors of our nation. That's why my veterans get these. They have earned every bit of this and then some. And this is just a drop in the bucket compared to what you guys have already given. We end our day with these and them getting their final welcome home. And one thing that we do, I walk out ahead of everybody. Ed remembers that. Not because I'm the fearless leader, not because I'm the one that has made stuff happen, but my crew comes out with us too. And it's a team that we have. We want to be there because at the end of that parade, I want to make sure that they know that I'm always there.
Yeah.
That's how we end our day with these guys and girls.
Wow.
So that's what this is all about. But we, without our United States veterans, we're nothing.
That's true.
And I say that, but without him, we're truly nothing.
Yeah.
I have a lot of things that have gone on in my life as a vet myself. And I told you I would mention another person that's important to me, and that's my wife, Kay.
Yeah.
Not a day goes by that I don't wake up and fall in love with her again. Every day. That's just the way I feel about her. My son, my daughter-in-law, we've done well with them. But without their support, I couldn't do what I do now to help you. It takes the support of everyone, the community, family, and above all, God.
Yeah.
And that's what I have to say.
Yeah.
So
There's a couple of things I want to say on that. Is that when I got home, I opened up my package and looked at every item that was in there. All the pictures, the words that were spoken, to me, and there was like 28 letters in my
Wow.
packet. I mean, it's like it took me a couple hours just to go through, to read, what they said. But I also can say, like, when I met my wife, of course I was in the military, and from that point on, she's been with me for 56 years.
you said grueling years on the airplane.
You're getting me in trouble.
You're gonna get her in trouble.
But again, it goes back to, I have a wife that was supportive of me. In fact, when I got the call to get on Desert Storm, we had 4 foster kids at the time, and besides our own 2 kids, and it was like it was almost worse than having 1,000 troops. And we were battling, and I was almost like I was going from one war to another, and I felt bad that I'm going to have to leave, but then I also had like a little smirk on my face as I'm out of here. But the thing is, she's always been there for me, supportive of me, being in with the reserves, and they get called up and everything else that goes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, we sure have been blessed to have both of you, and wow, what amazing stories, and what an amazing organization. So if people wanted to donate, I guess you take donations, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get in touch with you?
They
or
can get in touch with us. And again, this is not a money spill by no means, but in order for us to make this happen, it does take donations. It does take funding. We raise money throughout the year. To put it into perspective, every time we fly, it's right at about $180,000.
Wow.
And we fly 3 times a year. So, and you say, well, what do you do with $180,000? Have you ever rented a 737 before?
No,
Well, that's what we do. We rent the airplane, but it's more than the airplane. It's the meals. It's the motor coaches that we rent over there. It's the things, the shirts. It's things that we do year round. So those little things add up. So a guardian, when they go, it costs a $500 fee for a guardian. And that cost, unfortunately, is going to have to go up next year. But if someone wants to donate to us, every penny, not every dollar, every penny helps. And we do not turn anything away. When you have a 5-year-old boy come up and give you a $1 bill and say, can you put this in the helmet? I want to give him change bad, but he says, no, sir, put it in there. It's things like that help. Contact us directly at Honor Flight of the Ozarks. You can go to the website that we have, or you can just call me, find me. I'll make sure we take care of business with you. And that is the term, unfortunately, take care of business. We have to do that because we are a nonprofit organization. So there are certain guidelines we have to adhere to. But anything anyone wants to give is just, it's wonderful because it helps folks like Ed get that trip of a lifetime.
So if it's nonprofit, that means it's also tax deductible, right?
Say it isn't so.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, there you
say
go.
It isn't so.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We have such a good time. I can't tell you enough about it. I was fortunate. This is I believe number 17 missions for me. So I've had a real good time. I'm gonna do it again one more year. Of course, it may go beyond that, but at least another year, and we're going to make it happen again. But you can't do it without that guy watching you up there.
Yeah.
Amen.
You got to have Jesus.
You better believe it.
And you got to have money. I mean, even Jesus recognized that, whenever he needed money to pay his taxes, he sent Peter to do some fishing. So, yeah.
That's right.
So, well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate you sharing and letting us know what's going on with these honor flights. And, what a privilege. So, Ed, would you like to close in prayer?
Sure.
Thanks.
Lord, I just thank you so much for Pam to allow us to share what we experienced. I thank you, Lord, for the honor flight that throughout the nation. And I know that every soldier that's been on these flights, that they have been blessed beyond measure. And I thank you, and I pray, Lord, for David, as he continues to lead, with the honor flight, that you will, continue to give him the wisdom, the strength, that he needs as he puts it all together, especially when he has to do it 3 times next year. And I, pray that you would just thank you, Lord, for that, the opportunity that, like myself and David and all those who have served, that they that they would be proud of what they've done in the service. Yeah. And I thank you, Lord, that you, and I know, Lord, that you have been, that the people, there's many Christians who lost their lives, but they're with you, that were in the service. And so, Lord, I just thank you, for this time. Thank you, Lord, for all what you do, for the military. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.